Kamala Harris is drawing large crowds to her rallies. Now, is this socialist somebody that deserves those large crowds? Well, absolutely not. But does she deserve the accusation that her AI team is on top of it and these crowds are absolutely fake? This was suggested by people like Sean Foyt, who investigatively looked at the reflection of the plane and didn't see any crowds. And then also Kevin Sorbo, who was on the case not only to tell us how disappointed he was, but also to tell us that there is AI-generated people in the crowd at these Kamala Harris rallies. Is it true? Are these sleuth detectives uncovering for us a conspiracy and Kamala Harris is actually fully unpopular with the people? Or do we need to quit embarrassing ourselves before it's too late? We'll talk about that and more today on Indie Thinker. Welcome to the show. My name is Reed Huberman. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to check out today's show sponsor. Our friend Beth Eubanks over at CMG Home Loans can help you and your family get into a brand new home or even refinance your home. I know that Democrats have done their darndest to absolutely tank our economy, but with that comes the blessed news that the housing market's about to crash. And ultimately what that might mean is lower interest rates and lower housing prices and an opportunity for you to get into your dream home. Now, all kidding aside, whatever the case may be, even if you want to invest in real estate is a great way to secure your family's financial future. So check out our friends at CMG Home Loans by going to the link on the screen. And when you do so, let them know that Indie Thinker sent you. Now, you have probably been seeing the large crowds that Kamala Harris has been drawing. Now, I'll be fair to say that Donald Trump is still absolutely skunking her. I think Trump got up to like 50,000 at one rally, but there's no denying the fact that Kamala is drawing large crowds at her rallies. Recently, when she was in Phoenix, she drew 15,000 people, according to the media. And then she was also in Philly, where she drew 12,000. Then that picture that's gone viral now, where you see her at an airport with a bunch of people out in front of the plane, that drew 15,000 people, and then 12,000 people in Wisconsin. Now, as a result of all of these crowds showing up to celebrate Kamala, there have been a lot of conservatives like myself, making arguments that I wouldn't make, which is that all of these photos are faked. There's no way that Kamala is that popular. Now, listen, I get it. That woman is so insufferably difficult to listen to, the nasaliness.
Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia.
You know, but listen, far be it from me to make fun of voices. There's times where my wonderful silver throated voice isn't at its finest. So I don't really want to just pick on Kamala. I just simply want to say this, that I understand why conspiracy theories about the popularity of Kamala Harris exist. This is the woman that talks to us about Venn diagrams.
Whenever you're dealing with conflict, pull out a Venn diagram, right? And so, you know, the three circles.
This is the woman that talks to us about electric buses.
I'm excited about electric school buses. I love electric school buses. I just love them.
And this is the woman that implores us all to stay woke.
And, you know, we have to stay woke. Like, everybody needs to be woke. And you can talk about if you're the wokest or woker, but just stay more woke than less woke.
So I get it. Why would anybody this ridiculous be popular? So I think the conspiracy theories are only an attempt to try to make sense of the crazy world in which we live in, but good luck with that one. All I can tell you is in the midst of all of it, we don't need to discredit ourselves by claiming that this is merely AI. We may need to come to terms with all of this. So for those of us who are conservatives out there, especially conservative Christians who care about the honesty and the arguments that we're making, I want to be really clear with you that it is important for us not to deny the fact that Kamala is doing well. She is. First and foremost, I want to tell you this is a recipe for disaster. If we don't come to terms with the fact that Kamala is doing very well, then we're not going to strategically take her threat seriously. And then if that woman gets in office, well, then you can expect more of this.
Okay. A friend in need is a friend indeed.
Okay, I can first. Okay, so
Please, just don't. Anyway, so you can look at recent Siena polls and see that Kamala Harris is winning in almost every single swing state that matters, that Trump has to win in order to take this next election. So it is a recipe for loss if we don't take Kamala seriously as a threat. She's ahead in almost every single poll that I have seen to this point. Now, the other thing is this, and this is kind of a weak argument, I get, but it also kind of makes us look dumb to develop conspiracy theories about everything that we don't like. Now, let me also argue that I think the generalized idea that you shouldn't vote for Donald Trump because his followers are dumb is really ridiculous. Now, as a Christian, I've dealt with this a lot. I've seen people who say, well, I don't believe in Jesus because of those mean Christians over there. Now, I've always thought this was a dumb thing to associate Jesus, who, like, you can find him in the Bible, with Christians in the 21st century who wildly don't know the Bible, many of them. All that to say this, that you can't necessarily judge a candidate based upon his followers any more than you can judge a religion based upon its adherents. So this whole idea too, like the Crusades, like there were these evil guys doing these evil things to Muslims during the Crusades, and they said they were Christians. Christianity is a horrible religion. Like, wait, just because those guys did that thing back then, it's a horrible religion? Well, and of course they would probably argue, no, that's just one anecdote to, okay, so whatever. But the point is that I think we need to judge things based upon the merits rather than just based upon anecdote. And so just because it makes us look dumb isn't the greatest way to look at this in terms of a Donald Trump victory in the future, which I think will ensure a better American future. I don't think anybody's really going to go to the polls and just be like, those stupid conservatives and Republicans or whatever, Trumpers, MAGA, whatever, super ultra MAGA duper whatever. Those guys were dumb, so I'm not voting for their candidate. No one's actually going to do that. But I'm just saying this as a kind of personal appeal. It's generally a good idea not to look dumb. Now, do I always do that? You can ask anybody that knows me. No. But I think it's for the best that we get off of the AI train here and start to take it seriously. But most importantly, this is the most important thing of all of this, is that I think we miss a very important lesson about human psychology, more importantly, about culture and about Christian faith, if we don't acknowledge the fact that Kamala's rallies are really super huge. Because there is one thing to credit for Kamala's rallies that I think above all else is the reason that she is becoming so popular and so many people are flocking to these rallies. Might it have something to do with Bon Iver being at the Wisconsin rally, who is, I think, from the place wherever they were in Wisconsin, and so he showed up at that rally. And then we got Megan Thee Stallion, not a Stallion, but Megan Thee Stallion in Atlanta twerking for all the locals to make it known that Kamala is the right choice for America. Because if we don't shake our rear ends and jiggle up and down, I don't know how democracy can be saved. But it's not just those celebrities. Also, there was Charlie XCX who posted declaring that Vice President Kamala Harris is brat on X. Now, I thought about taking the time to actually look up what it means to be brat. But then I reconsidered that and remembered, it's a very important point too, that I don't care at all what it means to be brat. I don't know who Charlie XCX is, and I don't know what it means to be brat, but ultimately this was supposed to be a big deal. And then we had Beyonce giving her song to Kamala for one of her campaign videos, the song Freedom. All that to say that Kamala has had the endorsements of not only people like Beyonce and Charlie XCX, again, whoever that is, but also people like George Clooney, and tons of celebrities have come out to celebrate, and even the Obamas, the revered and holy ones, have come out to celebrate her. Now, I want to show you a ad from Kamala that's about getting out the vote, but this really isn't about getting out the vote as much as it is voting for Kamala Harris. So you have to be able to insinuate here a little bit for this one, but here we have another group of celebrities, many of which I don't know at all, here talking to Michelle Obama, encouraging us to get out the vote for Kamala.
Hey, Ms. Obama.
Are you voting this year?
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course I am.
100% yes. Obviously.
You already know.
Now it's your turn to answer the call. We are just 100 days away from the general election. From our local elected officials to ballot measures on reproductive rights, the environment, and our economy, our future is on the ballot. So are you voting this year?
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 Join me.
Join me.
Join us by getting registered and ready to vote with When We All Vote Today.
And then, of course, the most egregious of all is Nick Offerman, also known as Ron Swanson, singing this song to bash everybody who might vote for Trump instead of the pro-abortion, pro-socialist candidate, Kamala Harris.
So I'm proud to be a Kamala man who has quit the GOP. 'Cause I just can't abide a man who's tried for 34 felonies. And it's time to stand up and face the fact that the men that I once cheered are a bunch of wingnut white nationalists. Well, those guys are fucking weird.
And at this point in the show, I would just like to have a brief moment of reflection to mourn the passing of Ron Swanson. Ron Swanson was perhaps one of the greatest characters in TV history. A man that worked for the government to try to destroy the government from within. A man that only ate meat, made fun of vegetarians, made fun of hippies, made fun of basically anybody that was weak and didn't act like a man. That was a respectable character that we will all mourn. And now we say goodbye to Ron Swanson.
I know you're shining down on me from heaven.
I would love to say all jokes aside right now, but that is not a joke. I really do mourn the passing of that man. Ron Swanson was like a father to me. Anyway, ultimately what I'm explaining here is just the bandwagon effect that we need to be aware of, because it does influence policy. It does move the needle politically in America, and it does impact the church ultimately, which is my biggest concern. We live in an America right now where as long as you can arrive on preachers with sneakers and make sure that that price tag is high, and you got enough swag, you can get on a stage and you can fool a group of people that you are actually a Christian preacher preaching the gospel. And all you have to do is Vincent Peale style kind of come up with some positive mental attitude messaging, some positive thinking messaging, and that will be repackaged as Christianity in the 21st century.
Oh God, pastors don't say this because they want to be absolute. Well, why did that? I don't freaking know. No, honestly, I wish God would have made it so much simpler and it was like A, B, C, or D, like frick.
So all of that to say that celebrity pastors, celebrity culture is a blight on the church, it's a blight on politics, it's a blight on everything. But it is a reality that we have to grapple with. So why is it that we want to be on the bandwagon? Why is it that we want to join others in the crowd as much as we say, I want to be independent and, you know, the name of the show, I want to be an independent thinker. Ultimately, why do we crave so much to be a part of the matrix? Why do we love the blue pill so much if it is true that it comes natural to us as human beings to want to be red pilled? I think we all know the answer to that because it doesn't. What comes natural to us is actually normalcy, and we hate change. We don't want to rock the boat. We don't want to swim upstream. We love the status quo because it feels good. And frankly, it's hard to think. It is really hard to come up with your own thoughts about a subject without regurgitating something that another person said. So the real problem is that we crave normalcy, we hate change because change is hard. So we crave kind of wherever crowds are, that's where we go to, and crowds are around celebrities. Now, the other thing is that, especially in a post-Christian America, we need something to believe in. We need somebody to look up to. We need a hero, as it were. And we're all going to do this. And this is a natural thing, by the way. We should have people that we look up to and that we want to emulate. It's just important to make sure that the people that we're emulating are worth emulating. I'm sorry, if you're taking your daughter to Taylor Swift concerts, I'd question whether or not you're actually listening to the message of the music here, but I would also question you whether or not you think it's great to stir up your daughter's animosity against the patriarchy, as though men were the problem, keeping Taylor Swift down. The most famous person, basically, on the planet right now. Sorry, Beyonce. That men have just kept her down, and she is so uniquely talented that she's risen above it all, like a phoenix from the ashes. So I don't know that it's great to regurgitate messages that create hatred toward men if you have young women in your home, but you do you, as they say.
How about no, Scott, okay?
But the real reason that the bandwagon effect is absolutely powerful is that people crave belonging. In the absence of a true kind of moral foundation, people need affirmation. That's why we have grown adults, men and women today, looking for others to affirm their sexuality by pronoun usage, or to affirm their sexuality by saying, we approve of your decision to be a homosexual couple or a lesbian couple. So there's this conversation, even still in the church today, whether we should be welcoming or affirming or both. And I'm just thinking to myself, why are we even talking about this? No adult needs another adult to affirm their behavior if you actually have confidence that what you're doing is good. But the truth is that we only need affirmation when we don't have confidence in our moral beliefs and our moral structure. And the reason we very often don't have that today is because we don't have a moral structure. We've absolutely ejected the Bible from public life in such a way that now we don't even know where morality comes from. So I guess what I'm saying this is that in the absence of a moral compass, we defer to the madness of crowds because we need to feel that what we're doing has some validity to it. Otherwise, we're totally unmoored in a society that has no objective moral values. Because atheists have been arguing and Enlightenment rationalists have been arguing for years that morality is subjective. And ultimately what that leads to is moral relativism and you do you. It leaves people actually wondering if anything that they're doing with their life and anything that they believe in is actually of intrinsic value. Is it truly good? Because you cannot say something is good when it is purely subjective and arbitrary. You can only do so when there is a transcendent set of moral values outside of yourself by which to judge that by. So in other words, as I said before, no moral compass, madness of crowds. You go for what everybody else is doing to try to bring a sense of validity and a sense of a stamp of approval of what you're doing. If they're doing it, well, then it couldn't be that bad, is kind of the idea. So it's true. Americans are hell-bent on the destruction of society, and they'd vote two socialists into office that are wildly radical and obnoxious simply because of the bandwagon effect. Simply so that they can have a sense of belonging, so that they can find something to believe in, so that they can have a sense of normalcy. They would do that, and so they're flocking as crowds to these Kamala Harris rallies. But there is one thing that is more potent than crowds, and it's the truth. Now, I'm not going to argue that Donald Trump is always sitting on the side of truth. But I am going to tell you that between Kamala and Trump, one is way more on the side of truth than the other. I'm sorry to break it to you, David French, but no, Christians and conservatives shouldn't vote socialist. And by now, I think we understand, according to Tim Walz and the Kamala Harris campaign, that we're going to go as woke as we possibly can. So all that to say this, that we need a candidate who preaches the truth. Now, in my own kind of insignificant way, I'm going to urge the conversation of my fellow Christians and for any politicians who might be out there watching this show. I know, probably not. But nonetheless, in whatever way, with whatever power I have, this is what I would encourage all political candidates to do from here on out. Tell the truth. I know it's wild, it's crazy, and I don't know if it can work, frankly. But it's worth a shot. When we have political opponents who are going to talk about aborting babies and call it reproductive health and call a baby a fetus, we need a candidate that will say, why are you calling that baby a fetus? Please tell me at what point in time the baby becomes a baby and no longer a fetus. Is it the magical birth canal? Where does any of this biology come from that you're just making up arbitrarily? Did you know that the vast majority of biologists all agree that life begins at conception? So now as a politician, you're going to take the life of young innocent babies in your hands and you're going to call it cynically reproductive health? What about the health of the baby that you just killed? All I'm saying is I'm giving an example. as crude as it may be, that we have to start getting people who will actually stand up for the truth instead of making arguments that, well, abortion is politically inexpedient for us as conservatives. We've got to step away from that argument and we've got to take a more moderate position. Listen to me. I am only interested in moderating in terms of hot sauce because I kind of hate it. What we need to moderate in is not the positions that we hold that fundamentally alter the lives of babies and young children and other things. Obviously, when we talk about the border, and we talk about human trafficking, and we talk about drugs and all sorts of other things. No, forgive me. I'm not interested in moderating on that position because I love people. I care about the people who are sitting on major city streets and wallowing in drug addiction. I care about the people who are being human trafficked across our border. I care about the innocent people who are being attacked by criminals who cross our border illegally and claim asylum. I care about all of that stuff. But we've got to get the kind of candidates who will stand up for the truth. That's why there is, in the midst of not always liking everything Donald Trump does, there is a glimmer of hope. And it comes in the form of J.D. Vance, who just recently spoke with CNN and absolutely trashed Dana Bash.
This is a guy who's been captured on video. As other people say, he's an Afghanistan veteran. He's a veteran of a war, nodding along in agreement instead of saying, no, I did serve my country and I did it honorably, but I never went to a war zone. I'm not criticizing Tim Walz's service. I'm criticizing the fact that he lied about his service for political gain, Dana. Now, I served in the United States Marine Corps, and you know this. And look, there are a lot of things that I'm proud about. I've never lied about what I did or overstated it because it would be beneficial to me in an election. I think that's what Tim Walz did. That's what I was criticizing. And yes, I do think it's scandalous behavior.
So there you have it. You have lies about your military service, and if Tim Walz would lie about that, trust me, he will lie about almost anything else to get your vote. So you have a decision to make. Do we tell the truth, or do we live by lies? Jordan Peterson said this. He said, when you have the truth to tell, silence is a lie, and totalitarianism feeds off of lies. Will you stand up and tell the truth? Yes, tell it in love. Be as kind as you want to, but tell the truth. And if you do so, we will not be relegated purely to the madness of crowds. All right, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to check out our sponsors for the show today. But most importantly, go with God.